We'll start this with a moment of meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll for us?
Ms. Nenny?
Here.
Mr. Moon?
Here.
Mr. Mulligan?
Here.
Mayor Condrey?
Here.
Ms. Vittori?
Here.
We're starting tonight's meeting with a public hearing for the 2021 tax budget for the Midpoint Library. I believe Ms. Slater will be coming up to speak to us.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Deborah Preston with the Midpoint Library System, and I'm joined by our Community Relations Director, Carrie Hillman. And the Midpoint Library System is here today to discuss our 2021 revenue budget. However, before I do, I would like to have Carrie highlight some of the significant items that's been happening at our library in the last several months. Carrie?
Sure. Thank you so much. Just a few quick things for you. Midpoint was able to introduce touch-free curbside service in May, offering patrons a chance to pick up holds without leaving their car. So a wonderful service. And in mid-June, Midpoint physical locations in Middletown, Trenton, and Westchester opened for in-person services. So this included reference questions, browsing, and then computer and printing usage, really important for a lot of people. So we're also happy to still be able to present our popular summer reading program with this year's theme of Imagine Your Story. This year's program features an activity map, and patrons are challenged to create their own adventure by completing activities between June 1st and July 31st to win prizes. Maps are designed for all ages, so families can enjoy activities together, and you can participate, all of you, through July 31st by picking up a map at any Midpoint location or by downloading one online. And while you're there, I do encourage you to check out some of our new online programming, including virtual story time. So, on behalf of our board, we want to thank you all for your support in the many ways we are serving our community. I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Deborah.
Thank you. Now, turning your attention to the 2021 budget, you have in your packet all the paperwork which outlines both our revenues and our expenses. And by way of review, you're the taxing authority for the Midpoint Library System, so I'm bringing forth this budget for your review, which after your consideration and consent and voting, then it will be sent down to the Butler County Auditor for subsequent approval. The 2021 revenues for our general fund are estimated to be $7,331,660, and projecting our expenditures to be $8,106,126. These expenditures are for continued operations, programming, and obviously expanding our outreach services. During these COVID times, we continually develop and look for new and innovative ways to reach our public, and I'm sure you'll join us in looking forward to when we can fully open all of our branches and be fully operational. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
No question, but just a comment. The touchless or curbside pickup has just been wonderful for my family. They've really enjoyed it, so thank you for doing that.
Yes. Yeah, we appreciate that. And again, we're trying to be as innovative as possible with the ever-changing times that we find ourselves in. So we're always more than happy to accept any suggestions, recommendations, as we are very nimble in these times. There's no other questions, so.
The gap between expenditures and revenues, how does that get filled in general?
From our reserves, approximately 7 years ago, we developed a asset management plan and kind of a maintenance tenure plan, wherein we had to take all of our assets and figure out how we're going to pay for long-term maintenance. And so approximately 8 years ago, we started setting aside reserves each and every year to be able to fund that. So that is already in reserves, and we'll be able to use those reserves to fund that gap. And the majority of it is capital expenditures and long-term maintenance.
And how has COVID affected your expenditures? Is that a significant effect or?
Significant, approximately the first couple months, because we have two main revenue streams. Number one, we have our levy, which generates approximately $3 million, and then the balance of that pretty much is from public library funding, which is similar to local government funding, what you get. And typically we were getting like $5.5 million from that. The first month in April, we saw like a 37% decrease in that. So I projected over the course of the next 9 months for this year, and then probably I see it at least 6 months into next year, probably a total of about 17 to 22% in a decrease in public library funding, which, to your point, it's about $1 million that we're gonna have a shortfall in.
So my question is about the expenditures, though, themselves. So that's obviously the revenue, and I can understand that's an issue. Are you finding that you're spending more or less as a result of having fewer people?
We have, even though we were closed like a lot of the other entities were, the back-end operations, specifically my staff and I, we were working diligently because we had to do a lot of realignment of not only our operations as it relates to the public service, what the public sees, but also our back-end operations, and realigning expenses to meet the revenue. So we've done a lot of that over the last 90 days, and we will continue to do that as the needs dictate. We feel that we're perfectly aligned moving forward into the end of this year, and we'll see how that works out. We've done some consolidations with regard to positions, and then we put a hold on hiring with regard to open positions. So between some of those things and tweaking other expenditures, we feel that we're in a good position to be able to make about $1 million cut and align our revenues with our expenses. Again, as your finance people probably have been working diligently in a lot of hours, it's a moving target, and we're nimble enough to know that it's changing, and we're going to keep changing with whatever comes at us.
Thank you. The mental health piece right now is extremely important. I know you guys are playing a big role in that. So
Indeed it is.
And if you're looking for somebody to read a virtual story sometime, let me know. I'll be happy to.
Thank you. We'll keep that in mind. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next we have citizen comments, which we have. Oh, we have to open it. Thank you. I always forget that. You guys are great. Okay, so do we have any comments in support of the 2021 tax budget for the Midpoint Library? Do we have any comments in opposition of the 2021 tax budget for the Midpoint Library? Okay, with that, we will close the public hearing for the 2021 tax budget for the Midpoint Library. Are we good? Okay, now we can move on to citizen comments. We have one citizen comment today from Ruth Kelly. Ms. Kelly, you're welcome to come up.
Good evening. All right, thank you, Mayor and council people, for having me this evening. I just came out to support our Police Chief Burke, who's been working with us in the Middletown area Ministerial Alliance. He's been meeting with us quite often with some of our pastors and ourselves. We had a meeting a couple Tuesdays ago here in the council chambers. We wanted to support him also, and wanted the city to also back him with the funding of the grant that just came forth for him to also have funding to hire 2 police officers. So I know that's already been before you, and I don't know when you're going to actually move or vote and move on that issue, but he needs to hire 2 police officers to man the city. And actually, they need more than 2 police officers in the city so we can make sure the citizens of the Middletown, Ohio are safe. And also with that, with the funding needs to extend past that time period so the salaries will be stable. So we want you to know that the citizens of Middletown, Ohio, and also the pastors in Middletown are behind Police Chief Burke, and we would like to let you know that we're here to support him. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Can you just provide your address for the record?
Yes, 711 Poplar Street here in Middletown, Ohio.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Okay, great. Next, we will have council comments. We'll start on the left with Ms. Vittori. Or I guess
Thank
you're right.
you. I hope everyone had a good holiday weekend. I know there were some really great events around the area that people got to enjoy, even though it was a bit different this year. We had a great event downtown. Thank you to the Downtown Middletown Inc. for putting on our progressive picnic that got people downtown and still socially distanced, which was really nice and not always easy to do. And obviously, I hope that everyone continues that socially distancing with the latest from our governor, and hopefully we can get our numbers down and get out of the red and go back to being orange and maybe even yellow so that we can try to stabilize and get back to some kind of a normal life. And that's about all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Milligan.
Thank you, Your Honor. I express my thanks to the NAACP and the police department for their work to put together the Unity March, which happened the second to last Saturday in June. It was a great expression for Middletown residents to come out, showed some leadership from all areas, and showed the unity that we have in our community and the strength that we have. And I hope that the positive dialogue that was expressed that day will continue. But that's certainly a strength of our community. I look forward to working to nurture that. Thank you.
Mr. Moon.
Yes, thank you. I'll echo Mr. Mulligan's comments. Was pleased to take part in the Unity March and thank the NAACP and the Ministerial Alliance and the Police Department for helping organize that. And certainly, we're stronger together than we are apart, so I was pleased to see such a unified presence that day. And that's all I have. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Nitty.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, I hope everyone had a safe and fun 4th of July weekend. I, too, was downtown for the DMI progressive picnic, and it was a great success. I noticed that many, but not all, people had their masks on, but they were all able to practice social distancing while enjoying our downtown. I encourage people to continue wearing their masks in public for the safety of their neighbors. This is not political, it's about public safety, but it takes each of us doing what's right to move forward instead of backwards. Our businesses, communities, students, and city need our help to maintain control of the spread of COVID-19. While at this time the city does not necessarily have the resources to formally police your compliance with mask mandates, we can thank you for doing your part. Thank you.
So today I just wanted to also give my thanks for the Unity March that occurred that was also socially distanced properly, as well as to thank the Parades Committee for a very cool moving parade that happened around town this weekend as well. As far as an update from Jackie, I think the numbers were 211 confirmed cases in Middletown of COVID as of right now, with still the remaining 2 deaths that have, luckily that number hasn't changed in a couple months. The mask mandate came out today. For those who didn't see it, in Butler County, we're one of 7 red counties in the state. So we are now required by Ohio Department of Health to wear our masks in public. When I spoke to the governor, he said, for clarification purposes, public, I asked what public meant, and he said, anywhere indoors where you're around other people, which includes when we go to our seats at a restaurant or something like that, on the way to the table, wear your mask. You can take it off while you're eating, obviously. But then if you're out in public and you're at a park or something, when you're riding your bicycle, you're running, you do not have to wear your mask. When you're by yourself in your vehicle, you don't have to wear your mask. So the biggest thing is common sense, and let's respect each other and get through this together and get past it and come closer as a community. So thank you, Middletown. That's all I have this evening. Susan, would you like to start your city manager report for us?
I am actually going to keep it very brief this evening. I too was going to discuss the mask requirement. Just to point out that the order did go out today to be effective tomorrow. As soon as we receive more information on the actual orders, I will push out information through the city's social media site as we receive it from the governor. But unfortunately, with it going out this afternoon, we didn't get a chance to compile that yet. Also, I am looking forward to welcoming Jim Palahniuk on Monday. I have spoken with him, and he is in the process of moving to Middletown, I believe, as we speak. And I just want to close by saying thank you to everyone on council and thank you to the staff for helping through this time of transition. It's been quite a 6 months, and I wouldn't have been able to do it, or any of us wouldn't have been able to do it without all of the staff pitching in and doing as well as they've done, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you too, Susan. Thank you.
I assumed that you would be running the next meeting for us, Susan. Is that still accurate?
I will be attending the next meeting. I will split the duties however Jim seems fit. So we'll see his comfort level. I will be here.
Okay.
It's just a question of what he would like to have done.
Okay. Well, thank you then for your official last full running of this meeting for us. We're
Thank
very,
you.
very grateful. Okay, consent agenda. Ms. Skank, will you please present that for us?
Your consideration this evening to approve the city council minutes from April 7th, 13th, 15th, 21st, 25th, and May the 1st of 2020, and to confirm the promotional appointments of Ryan Roberts to the position of equipment operator in the Department of Public Works and Utilities, Division of Street Maintenance.
So move for adoption.
Second.
Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori.
Yes.
For the motion agenda, we have to receive, file, and adopt the 2021 tax budget for the Midpoint Library.
So moved for adoption.
Second.
Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Item B, to approve the purchase of 3 new Ford F-450 trucks for Public Works off the ODAS contract for the Division of Stormwater, Sewer Maintenance, and Water Distribution in the total amount of $113,253 from Lebanon Ford.
So move for adoption.
Second.
Just as a clarification on this one, I did ask Susan about why this is Lebanon Ford and not Middletown Ford, and she said that, can you clarify again?
Yes, these are being purchased under the ODAS contracts they have. So in order to get the best price, we go through those deals, the pre-negotiated bids. Middletown Ford is not an option off of that contract.
Thank you. Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll for us?
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
Item C, to approve a bid from Jess Howard Electric Company of Blacklick, Ohio, in the amount of $153,592.50 for the replacement of the Precision Approach Path Indicator System at the Middletown Regional Airport.
So move for adoption.
Second.
Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey.
Abstain.
Item D, to authorize the city manager to enter a contract with Adleta Incorporated to proceed with the 2020 urban paving concrete work project. The work will take place along Verity Parkway between Titus Avenue and Eldora Street.
So move for adoption.
Second.
Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Nenny,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Condrey,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori.
Yes.
Before we move forward, could I just ask a question on item C? This didn't occur to me until right now. Lightning strike, we might want to check with our insurance to see if that would be covered peril?
I believe we would have run that through at this point, but
Okay.
I will double check.
Okay.
I think because the age of the system, it's considered ongoing maintenance, but I will
Yeah.
double check prior to proceeding.
Okay.
And if we need to come back on something different, we'll do it at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Great, moving on to legislation. Ms. Brentlin, would you like to propose or
Thank you.
read that for us?
There are 7 items of legislation on tonight's agenda. Of those, 2 are emergency items. We are asking for a motion to waive the charter provision requiring 2 separate readings as to the following items. Ordinance number O2020-27 and ordinance number O2020-29.
I move that the charter provision requiring readings on 2 separate days be waived and that ordinance number O2020-27 and O 2020-29 be declared emergencies and read one time only.
Second.
Thank you. Call the roll.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Ordinance number O 2020-27, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Phenix Stabilization LLC to perform subgrade stabilization on Antrim Court, Donegal, Galway Circle, and Helton Drive, and declaring an emergency.
So move for adoption.
Second?
Any comments from council? Okay, Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Ordinance number O 2020-28, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to consent to the Ohio Department of Transportation to rehabilitate the bridges that carry State Route 122 over the Great Miami River and the overflow channel, here tonight for a second reading.
So move for adoption.
Second.
Any comments from council? Okay, Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Ordinance number O 2020-29, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Motorola Solutions, Inc. for the purchase of APX 6000 XE police radios and declaring an emergency.
So move for adoption.
Second?
Any comments on this one?
This is for the replacement of the radios that all the police use for communicating with each other. The old radios are not being supported anymore, so we need to replace to continue their use. This will spread out the purchases over the next few years so that it's budgetarily possible, but we're getting the same radios.
Do the fire personnel use the same radios?
They do, and they're working on a similar process to replace theirs.
Well, I'm all for communications. Okay, Ms. Skank, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Condrey?
Yes.
Ordinance number O 2020-30, an ordinance approving an agreement with Knust Properties LLC, providing for the expansion of a manufacturing facility as a development project and tax exemption pursuant to the State Urban Jobs and Enterprise Zone Program, and making a determination in connection therewith and declaring an emergency. However, no action is requested until July 21, 2020.
This matter is some economic development incentives for the building of a speculative building in the Emerald Way property. We do believe this is a good incentive. It will allow economic development to happen, fill a niche in the market, and will allow some development in that area. It starts out with 5 years at 75%, and then an additional potential expansion if they have a tenant for each building with a minimum payroll of $750,000. Be 25 employees with an average of 30,000 for that second set of incentives.
From what we were told, it seemed like Ms. Lyons was very creative and fiscally responsible when putting this together, so I'm grateful for that.
I agree.
Ordinance number O 2020-31, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing an amendment to a contract with Reliable Construction for the installation of a self-serve fueling system and declaring an emergency. No action requested until July 21, 2020.
This was involved in some changes we had going in with the installation of the self-service fueling system. We had been storing our fuel trucks in one location. The fire department indicated that was not the appropriate place to be storing them, gave them some options about where to locate it. The decision was made to move it to a location near the self-serving fueling stations. With that, they needed to have some additional electric run, as well as some barriers, I believe, for safety purposes. And the work was performed as we were installing the self-service fuel station to get that up and running, also to avoid further penalties by delaying this change.
What was the delay in requesting council approval for this? It looks like the work was completed quite a long time ago.
I am not sure what accounted the delay. I can get that for you before the next reading.
So because the work was already done, I don't remember having a situation like this yet, but what would happen if council said no?
We would go back to, it would probably end up in litigation about the contractor asking for payment. The original contract does contemplate change orders, so we would need to get into that language. I would remind, this is a sunk cost for us. No matter, we were told we could not keep it where it was. Anywhere you chose to move it was going to require the additional electric as well as some of the safety measures. So there was going to be a cost here, regardless of where we chose to move it to comply with the fire code.
So the electrical connections are for the trucks for the winter? Is that-
It is my understanding that the electric was required so that they can plug in additional heaters appropriately
In the winter
in the
time?
winter to make that change.
So I would comment that if it was until the winter time, it would have perhaps been more appropriate to bring it to council before having the work completed.
There was also a concern that if we did not do it as they were installing the self-service fuel system, there were going to be an additional cost in placing that tank. The quote to me was $10,000 if we were to wait on that, so it was trying to keep the cost as minimal as possible.
Thank you.
Ordinance number O-2020-32, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with NFP Corporate Services to be agent of record for healthcare services from August 1, 2020 through July 31, 2023, and declaring an emergency. No action requested until July 21, 2020.
This is the contract for our agent of record for our healthcare for city employees. We have had NFP for a significant amount of time. Their contract had not been up for bid in, I think, 6 years. So we went out to bid to make sure we were still getting the value that we needed and that this was the best option. The healthcare committee reviewed 5 different bids. This bid was not the lowest. There were a couple that were, I believe, within $5,000 of each other. However, because we work with NFP, there was less cost associated with moving. So we think it makes up the difference in the cost. And NFP has certainly provided us with top-tier service, and we were happy with them and chose this bid to move forward as a recommendation.
Ordinance number O-2020-33, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for a small business economic development grant with White Dog Distilling Company, here for a first reading.
There was a previous CRA with the owner of the White Dog Distilling Company at 1357 Central. They sold the building to the new owners on land contract. There was some discussion about moving the CRA forward. It was not in compliance, so the city had a concern about continuing that CRA when the person that we gave it to was no longer involved and that it was not in compliance. So we've been attempting to try and help the new owners of White Dog to address some of their financial concerns and reward their community effort and their expansion. So we've been trying to work on an idea of a small business development grant to help them make some ends meet. They will be using this to pay down the land contract, I believe, and it'll allow them to also pursue potential expansion at that area.
Do we still own that piece of land right next to them?
Yes.
And have we talked about working with them on that piece of land as well?
There will be future discussions regarding their expansion, and I believe that piece of land is involved in what they would like to do as an expansion.
Okay, thank you.
Great. That's the end of the legislation for the evening. Okay, with that being said.
Take a drink of
this
water.
Under the authority of ORC 121.22G4, preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment, and under the authority of ORC 121.22G8, to consider confidential information related to the marketing plan, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance, or to negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance, provided that both of the following conditions apply. 1, the information is directly related to a request for economic development assistance that is to be provided or administered under any provision of Chapter 715, 725, 1724, or 1728, or Sections 701.07, 3735.67 to 3735.70, 5709.40 to 5709.43, 5709.61 to 5709.69, 5709.73 to 5709.75, or 5709, did I, what? 5709.77 to 5709.81 of the revised code, or that involves public infrastructure improvements or the extension of utility services that are directly related to an economic development project. 2, unanimous quorum of the public body determines by a roll call vote that the executive session is necessary to protect the interests of the applicant or the possible investment or expenditure of public funds to be made in connection with the economic development project. Do I have a motion to move to executive session?
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Skanku, please call the roll.
Ms. Nenny?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mr. Condrey?
Yes.
Tory?
Yes.
Okay, with that, the next public meeting for council would be on Tuesday, July 21st at 17:30 or 5:30 p.m. Oops. I think that's the first part. Reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees. Problem. You weren't listening to the whole thing? Gosh. Problem. So our next council meeting would be July 21st at 5:30 p.m. here in council chambers. Following the executive session, we will be dismissing until that meeting. Thank you. Until then, blue skies over Middletown.